When you're about to quantum leap into a new reality, why does it feel like your old timeline is doing everything it can to keep you tethered to the past, keep you tethered to the old reality? You might experience people from your past coming into your life. You might experience overwhelming dreams about past timelines or the current timeline you're on right now. You might experience lots of triggers and tests and emotional upheaval, and you will probably actually feel like you're battling yourself, but you're really battling the identity that you are wanting to let go of in order to quantum leap into your new reality. In order to quantum jump to a new timeline, one of the final stages and one of the hardest battles you will go through is shifting your identity, because the version of you that lives on the parallel timeline that has all the things that you want, which is why you're jumping to that reality in the first place, has a different vibrational frequency than you, has different beliefs about themselves and reality, and has a different emotional set point most of the time. That is why the two of you are not living in the same reality, because of those differences. There's a gap between you and the version of you whose life you want. I'm Alyssa, and I remind you that this timeline is optional. When you're quantum leaping to a new reality, one of the final steps is stabilizing in the new identity. This is after you have let go of things that are no longer a vibrational match to you, and you might actually feel some relief because you are starting to see your worth. You are starting to believe different things for yourself. You are starting to do things to consciously change your identity. You might be taking different actions. You might be shifting your beliefs. You definitely have different beliefs. You're probably letting go of things that lower your vibration, and you're doing things that raise your vibration. You're feeling better. You're feeling better about yourself, and you're actually believing that you can live in the timeline where what you desire exists. Because if you have a desire for something, it's only because another version of you on a parallel timeline is already living that reality, and it is basically telling you this is possible for you too. But you must match the identity to that version of you that's living on that timeline. Identity shifts can feel extremely painful. You might experience grief, you might experience disconnection from other people in your life, from yourself, and often we are faced with triggers and childhood patterns that we may have dealt with in one level, but they're going to come up again to see if we are really ready to let these things go. This happened for me a lot over the holiday season, actually. I'm going through a major identity up level right now, and things that I thought I had laid to rest came back up to ask me if I really believed I was who I say that I am, if I really believe I'm the version of me that lives on this timeline or that lives on a slightly elevated timeline that I am merging with. Also, your old coping patterns no longer work. When you're quantum jumping to a new reality and when you are shifting your identity, your nervous system can be going through a lot. When you're making identity shifts, your nervous system does not know how to sustain that energy and does not know how to hold on to that new way of being all the time because it's not used to it. It doesn't know how to hold that frequency because you are used to living at a certain emotional frequency. You are used to taking certain actions in your life. You are used to having certain beliefs about reality and yourself. You are used to seeing yourself in a certain way. And when you do things to shift that, the ego thinks it's dying, the identity thinks it's dying, and it fights to hold on because it does not want to die. This happens a lot when people do plant medicine ceremonies. You've heard of an ego death. It's because you're actually shifting your identity and being aware that you're a spiritual being, you're healing things on different timelines, you're getting downloads from universal sources. Every time I've done plant medicine, it's just so it breaks open my identity. But what happens first before you get all the blessings from that is you have a complete ego death and you start to realize that what you believed about yourself is not truth. It's not. You start to be faced with beliefs that you have about yourself and reality. And you have to decide if you're really ready to let those go. And if you don't, you won't have an ego death. You probably won't have a healing. And, you stay in your old reality. But the identity wants to fight to hold on to what it has created. And there's nothing wrong with the identity that you have right now. We are constantly quantum leaping if we are making changes in our life to different parallel realities. Anytime you've made a big decision in your life, you've gone to college, you got into a relationship, you moved, you broke up with somebody that was not a match for you anymore. Anytime you've made a major decision in your life, you did, in a sense, quantum leap, because when we make a decision, two versions of reality split off, and there's the version of us that went and made the decision, and there's a version of us that never made the decision and they live on that same vibrational reality. Your life stays very the same and you believe the same things about yourself. So, when you're making identity shifts, there's nothing wrong with the version that you are now, but if you want something better in your life, you need to match the identity of the version of you that has it. The version of you that has everything you desire has better thoughts about themselves and reality, believes more about themselves, has a better vibrational frequency, and doesn't hold on to things that lower the vibrational frequency. You could say that they have more self love in a way if they're living at a higher vibrational frequency. So you are going to freak out. The identity that you have now is going to freak out and it's going to want to stay comfortable. Our identities want to stay comfortable. We want to stay comfortable. Even when something, our life that we're living, we know is not the best it could be. We know there's more meant for us. We have bigger desires, which desire is the first step of quantum leaping. It is easier for us to stay comfortable, even if that comfort is not good, than go out into the unknown because of what happens with the ego when we're trying to make changes. And it can also be really lonely. You're not going to relate to people the same when you're making identity shifts. Sometimes, when you're going through a spiritual awakening or you are quantum leaping to a better reality, you're calling something new into your life. I talk in terms of quantum leaping, but if you're manifesting something better into your life, you often do lose people in your life. You might lose friendships or break up with people or quit jobs or whatever because those things are not a vibrational match for you anymore. So it can be lonely in that you might see people leaving your life. But even when friends aren't leaving your life, you are starting to become a new version of yourself. And so you're not relating to people and family in the same way. And that can feel really lonely. When you are quantum leaping and you're doing identity work and you are in environments that you have been in for a long time, you're around people that you've been around for a long time, and you are starting to shift your identity and become a new version of you, it feels lonely because you're not relating to people the same as you were before. You're not relating to environments the same as you were before because you are not the same person. You are having different beliefs, you have a different vibrational frequency, you're taking different actions, and you see yourself differently. So there is a period when you're quantum leaping, like I said, it's called step 7, stabilization, where you're stabilizing your identity, you're stabilizing your vibrational frequency, but it's also the void. So you don't quite have the new life yet, but you've let go of the old life and you're not even sure that the new life is going to show up. So you have to have more faith in the new reality that you're jumping to. You have to have more faith in yourself and you have to believe that you can be a match for that life. You have to believe in that version of you that has the things that they desire. You have to believe that you're worthy of that life and that you have to believe that it's possible for you and that a person like you, your identity, that you can have it. This is where the law of assumption comes in, where you just assume that you are that version of you, but you're assuming it before reality shows up. So it feels like you're in a void. And because you've let go of things in your life, often you've let go of relationships. Like I said, you might let go of a job. You've let go of beliefs about yourself. But because you don't quite have the evidence of the new thing, it's like you can't go back, but you're not there yet. And so you start to your identity is dismantled a little bit and you're not really sure of who you are and you're not relating to people, places, and things in the same way. Your coping mechanisms don't work the same. So maybe you used to overeat or overwork or drink a lot or hang out, complain, hang out with low vibrational people, and you might still try to do those actions and it's not going to hit you in the same way. You're going to notice when you have this new identity and you're raising your vibration and you're leaping to a new reality that because you're not a vibrational match for those things anymore, you might be trying your old coping mechanisms to make yourself feel better because you're going through this weird shift and it's not going to hit the same, and that can be really hard. In my past life, and I mean on a different parallel reality, when I went through on and off years where I was very depressed and like I worked in clubs and I was, a little bit in the party scene. And I had all these coping mechanisms that I could, if I was feeling in a low vibration, I could make myself feel better. I would go shopping all the time. There's all sorts of things that I used to do. But when I really got into spiritual work and decided that I was going to live in a new reality, and then I would get triggered by something or I was like, why hasn't it happened yet? I'm doing all this spiritual work. Where is the fucking thing? And I would try to go back to like over drinking or shopping or whatever it might be. And those things felt empty. And then you actually feel worse because your vibration is actually at a higher level where those things aren't working for you anymore. So you're trying to do them to feel better and you actually feel worse. You're also grieving the old version of you. One of the most important things that I feel I've learned about quantum leaping is having compassion and love and gratitude for my past self. Often, when we're wanting to manifest something new in our life, quantum leap to a new reality where there's something that we don't have yet, we can get stuck in this. There's something wrong with me. If I was better, I would have the thing I wanted. If I was more lovable, I would have the relationship. If I was good enough, I would have the better job. If I was worthy, I would have my dream home. But it's not that. Reality is based on our beliefs, our vibrational frequency, what we believe is possible, and who we believe ourselves to be. How we expect life to show up for us is how our life literally is. So when you're shifting to the identity of someone that believes that they can have this greater life, it's easy to look back on a past self that maybe knew less than we knew and kind of blame them. And I went through this where I was like, why didn't you learn this stuff sooner? Like, we could have been happier sooner. And kind of feeling bad about those dark periods of my life, that actually the contrast was what got me here, because I experienced so much of what I didn't want. If you know about Abraham Hicks, I put so much into my vortex of what I do want, and I got very clear on the life I wanted to live, and I am living a lot of it and it feels amazing. But you have to learn to you're grieving the old self that actually got you here. The version of you that kept going even when they didn't have the beliefs, but had some sort of belief that they could have their dream job. Or the version of you that kept going on dates even though they didn't have the belief that they deserved someone good, but they had enough of a belief in the reality that they could have their soulmate, that kept putting themselves out there. The version of you that hates their job but goes to work because you do believe on some level that you're going to learn something, you're going to hear something, you're going to have a spiritual awakening, something's going to manifest where you're going to get your dream job, believed enough to keep showing up for your life, that believed enough to listen to this video, that believed enough to meditate one more day. You have to be grateful for that version of you. So it's like we're also grieving the versions of us that we're saying goodbye to when we're quantum leaping to the new reality. We're saying your beliefs, your identity, what you believe about reality, and your vibrational frequency is not going to get me to the new reality. But there is a version of me over here that has a higher frequency, that believes more in themselves, and that is deciding that they are going to have that. And their identity is different. So grief a lot of times comes up when you're identity shifting and your life is rearranging. If you are doing quantum leaping work and you're shifting your identity, you're shifting your vibrational frequency, you're letting go of things that lower you, you're saying yes to your desires, the universe is rearranging itself around you. So while you're in this void and it feels lonely, things around you are shifting and you kind of feel out of place. But the important thing to remember is double down on raising your vibration, double down on being the identity that you want, acting as if you are that version of you until you believe it, assuming that you live in that reality before it shows up, and knowing that these are just growing pains. Just like when we're a little kid and we grow out of our shoes, you're growing out of your identity. And yeah, it's uncomfortable if your shoes don't fit and your parents haven't bought you new shoes yet, but you have to believe so much in that other reality that there is a version of you that's living that's obviously calling you towards it. You have to have so much faith in that identity that you're sculpting, that you're becoming, and you have to continue to inundate your being with their vibration, with their beliefs. Keep reminding yourself of where you're going, reminding yourself of that desired reality. Play it in your mind until it starts to become so familiar to you. That's one of the biggest things I did to Quantum Leap, was picked one song that reminded me of these things that I wanted in the reality that I'm living now, that I was getting messages about this reality. I was getting messages from me now, which is weird because I merged with that me. But I just started to like I was I was in the in between place was really hard. I was going through a breakup. I was living where I didn't want to live. Because I was going through a breakup, I didn't have the same friends. Like, everything was changing around me. But I knew that there was this other version of me that was like living on the beach with her soulmate and was like really happy. So I just kept reminding myself of her. And I just kept thinking about her life, like almost like she was a friend of mine. And I kept talking like I was her. Like, I remember going to the beach and telling my best friend that I was moving to the beach. And this was before I even knew that I was gonna move here. It was a whole weird thing. But I was just saying I spent time at the beach and I spent time thinking about the relationship that I wanted. And I spent time listening to music that reminded me of the relationship that I wanted. And I was acting more like this version of me until I started to believe that I was me. And then things got really weird. Life happened really fast. And within a matter of months, I was like engaged to my soulmate. But it's reminding yourself of that version of you because that version of you exists, and like thinking about how would they act? How would they show up? What would they let go of? And would they believe in themselves enough that when they're going through this period that is uncomfortable, that they're just going to keep going and know that they're the new identity, and know that it's okay to get triggered. It's okay to feel lonely. It's okay to grieve that old version of you. I actually have so much appreciation for the old version of me that made so many choices that I like I used to think that I wish I didn't make, but now I see that if I hadn't made certain choices, I wouldn't have had such a desire for spirituality, that it wouldn't have sent me on this weird chase. That if life had been good enough, like if it had been, some things had been different in my life, I probably would have been content, and that makes for a very boring life. So grieve the old version of you, be grateful for them, but just think of them as like a younger version of you, like little you. Like you probably don't feel sad about 5-year-old you, and know that the way you can grieve that old version of you, that the parallel version of you that is obviously calling you with desire of the life that you want, think of them as a friend, as an older brother or sister, as your higher self, and just ask yourself how would they show up every day, and be gentle with yourself when you're going through nervous system stuff too, because you can get like really tired or feel really buzzy when you're quantum leaping because you're going in and out of parallel realities and your nervous system's trying to catch up. It's like really being patient with yourself and knowing that, like, I used to hate resting, but sometimes you need to just freaking chill and like let your nervous system relax, because if it's not feeling safe, you're not going to be able to hold on to the identity and stay in the new timeline. When you don't let your nervous system regulate, when you aren't kind to yourself, when you don't continue to step in the new identity of the version of you that lives on that timeline, you will stay in the void for a very long time and then energetically self-sabotage yourself and kick yourself back up into the old timeline, because you'll be so uncomfortable that you'll just give up on it. So it's just knowing that the fact that you have a desire for a different timeline, it's because there's a version of you that's living that timeline, and just continue to step into a new identity and know that grief is normal. Losing friends or feeling disconnected from friends, old triggers coming up is normal. Feeling really tired or feeling like really buzzy, like you're on drugs, and then crashing is totally normal. And that grieving your old self is totally normal. But I promise you that it's worth it, because that version of you on that timeline would have kept going and did keep going. And now they're living their dream life. And you can too. If you desire something strong in your heart, if you feel this if you have this dream in your mind, if you're imagining something better in your life, your soulmate, your dream home, your dream career, that's because another version of you is living that. And if you shift your beliefs to be a match to what they believe about themselves in reality, you shift your identity to be a match to what their identity is, and you raise your vibrational frequency and emotional set point so that you feel like they feel most of the time, you will energetically reach a tipping point where your vibration will flip. You will jump into the new timeline, and reality will readjust around you. But first comes beliefs and identity work, and then reality is the last thing to flip. Believe in that version of you, because they're right here on another frequency, and you can absolutely merge with them. Remember, this timeline is optional. Much love.